Welcome to the Dental Team Podcast. I'm your host, Kiera Dent, and I have this crazy idea that maybe I could combine a doctor and a team member's perspective because let's face it, dentistry can be a challenging profession with those two perspectives. I've been a dental assistant, treatment coordinator, scheduler, biller, office manager, regional manager, practice owner, and I have a team of traveling consultants where we have traveled to over 165 different offices coaching teams. Yep, we don't just understand you, we are you. Our mission is to positively impact the world of dental, and I believe that this podcast is the greatest way I can help elevate teams, grow VIP experiences, reduce stress, and create A-teams. Welcome to the Dental Team Podcast. Hello, Dental Team listeners. This is Kiera, and you guys, I don't know about you, but billing was my absolute arch nemesis in a dental practice. So I'm super excited with our guest today. They run one of the companies we actually recommend and refer all the time, eAssist. If you guys haven't heard about them, they are fantastic. You can outsource your dental billing, and I am always pro doing that. You can call me lazy, you can call me efficient, whatever you want to call me. But honestly, I'm so jazzed to have Tiffany with eAssist on the podcast today. Tiffany, how are you?
I am so good. Thank you so much for having me on here. It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. We were just chatting about good old Kansas City. What took you to Kansas City? I should have asked you, but let's just air it to the whole team or the whole podcast crew. What took you to Kansas City?
I actually was born and raised in Liberal, Kansas. It's a small town, Southwest Kansas, and then went to school at K-State and then moved here. I lived in Denver for a little bit and then ended up coming back.
Do you miss Denver? I worked in Denver for a while. Or are you like, nope? Because Kansas City has way better sports. I mean, you guys just crushed the, March Madness. So kudos to you guys. Happy. I'm sure the whole city was like, that's something I do love about Kansas City. It's like a raving city when it comes to sports. You guys love your sports team. So do you miss Denver? You happy with Kansas City? Like, how does that work?
I love Colorado. It's gorgeous. When I lived there, my kids were little, so I feel like I didn't really get to explore
Sure.
and, really be involved with all the things that I would like to do. But one of my best friends lives there. So that's kind of sad to be away from her. But I love me some Kansas City. We've got good people here.
Good people, good food, good sports. I mean, you got the whole shebang. So guys, if you're looking for a good place to go, Kansas City, it appears, is a great place, or Denver. But real topic, Tiffany, kind of walk us through, if people haven't heard of eAssist, kind of just give us a background on what eAssist is. And then I really want to talk today about how outsourcing billing can help with admin teams, because right now we are in the Great Resignation. Hiring is probably one of the hardest things. And so I think it's a really, really pertinent topic. So tell us a little bit about who eAssist is, what they do, just so people know about what your company is.
Yeah, so eAssist is a remote dental billing company that offers a variety of different services. So we do dental billing, where you'll have a dedicated team for your office that remotes in and submits all of your claims and attachments and whatnot, and then comes in and posts all of your payments. We also have a patient billing, which then handles things from that point on, where they are sending statements and following up on past due accounts with patients. We also offer insurance verification, which anybody that's...
It's been so long. I've been waiting for you guys to get to insurance verification. So to hear this, I'm just jazzed because that takes so much time. So thank you.
Yes, it's amazing. For some reason, there are unicorns out there who actually enjoy doing insurance verification, and thankfully we have them.
Good.
So
it is a weird talent to obsess, but I'm glad that they do it. I mean, you can really crank that stuff out if you're on it, and that's what you do. I had a girl that I used to work with, and she's like, Kiera, I get paid for all my verification. I've just learned how to do it. She was so fast at it. And I thought, wow, there you go. You can have a free day and get all your insurances verified. She was so quick. So I'm glad you guys have that now. That's awesome.
Yeah. And it's a lot easier when that's your only task that you're taking care of, and you're not having to answer the phone or schedule new patients and get all that information, or checking patients in there out, or working up treatment plans, and, the list goes on. So insurance verification it can be a huge time sucker, if you will, but it's also literally the number one missed dental billing step.
And in my opinion, it is one of the most paramount pieces of dental billing, because if we don't verify, then patients ask us questions. We're not as confident when we treatment plan, even though everybody knows we do not treatment plan based on insurance. But if they're going to ask me what their insurance is estimated to cover and I haven't found that information out, I get fumbly. I'm not as confident. Patient's not as confident. And good information in, good information out. You can send cleaner claims, get paid faster. It's just, yes, I'm such a pro. Like, don't skip it.
It goes on and on.
It does.
Yeah, it does. Actually, the number 2 reason why patients leave a dental practice is because they have lost their trust because they've gotten an inaccurate treatment plan. So insurance verification is the way to really make sure that the quotes that we're giving to patients are as close to true as possible. I mean, with insurance, anything can happen, but
yeah. What is the number 1 reason? You got me like questioning. You said number 2 is due to loss of trust on treatment plans. What's the number 1 reason people leave practices?
It is because they feel neglected.
Interesting. Okay.
They don't feel taken care of. Yeah, I talk to people about that all the time. Like, what can we do today to help our patients feel safe, seen, and heard?
Interesting. I like it. I like it a lot. There you guys go. Like that. I feel like that was like Dental Tidbit 101, Tiffany. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
But yes, so I am a huge proponent of eAssist. And the reason why I've just fallen in love with you guys is because you do it really well and you have to keep people hired and staffed and I don't have to deal with it. So I think especially right now, so many offices are just realizing like we don't have manpower out there. I mean, I ran up, I could be totally lying on this number, but it was about this amount. I'm thinking I'm a little erring on the side of less than more, but I think I ran up a bill of over 12 grand last year on Indeed ads trying to hire people. And I think that's a pretty hefty cost to try to hire people that weren't out there. Now it's starting to kind of shift. But at the same time, people get sick, people have kids, people have work problems, people have car problems, people get COVID exposures, people like the list goes on. And I just love that eAssist, like you guys have to deal with that. You guys, I'm sure, struggle with it. But me as the client and the practice, I don't have to deal with that turnover when I outsource. So let's kind of talk through this of like how outsourcing really can help increase your front office's game and make it easier for them and just have more consistency on the billing side.
Sure. I mean, it really all, like we said, starts with insurance verification, and that takes up so much time. And we really want to do everything that we can to really create that ultimate patient experience, which, as I said before, it's making them feel seen and heard. And they don't feel seen and heard when you're on hold with the insurance company and the patient walks in and you're not standing up to greet them or see how they're doing because you don't want to hang up because you were just on hold for like 30 minutes. And then it's like, there's no way, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's like, you're weighing the pros and cons. Like what's it worth right now? Because I know that they can't really work up a treatment plan unless I get this done. But right. Does the patient even want to go back and be seated if I don't look at them and smile when they walk in the door? So yeah, that's for sure. And then really helping to submit clean claims. So a lot of times claims are generated and they're put in the queue. And if you're sending them electronically, they go out and over to insurance to be adjudicated or whatnot. But people aren't opening up those claims and looking at all the information to make sure that it's accurate, that the codes that are being submitted are actually the correct codes, that there are radiographs attached, intraoral photos, narratives, clinical notes, perio charting. There's just so many things that go into that. In making sure that claim that's going out is clean and it looks good and everything is being sent the very, very first time. Otherwise, it takes time for claims to be processed, and that's just longer and longer that there's money that's not going into the bank. So.
For sure. And I think it's interesting how you talked about this, because I remember I was consulting in a practice and the gal who was overbilling, I said, okay, perfect. Like, our AR is really high. Let's look at this. Like, why are our accounts receivable so high? And a lot of it was actually insurance. And I said, hey, we're having like a lot of these insurance claims come back, it looks like. And she said, Kiera, it takes way more time to actually check my claims before I send them out. So I just send them out and then I wait for them to come back and then I fix them then.
No,
Your
don't do
response
it.
was the same as mine. I was like, it actually like will save you lots of hours, like tons of hours, if you will make sure your information's clean before it goes out. That way, when it comes back in, we have less and less and less dirty claims is what I call them. Like if you have to resubmit, I call that a dirty claim. We want clean claims, always clean claims, only clean claims. We want to get paid quickly. I'm like a one and done type girl. I do one take podcast recording 99% of the time. Like that's how I feel your insurance claim should be. So people who say, oh, that's too much time, Tiffany, I don't want to actually take the time to make sure everything's attached correctly. I'm just going to send it out to get it done. And then whatever comes back, I'll deal with. And I'm like, oh man, that just like gives me anxiety.
I know. I know it's like making me want to throw up a little bit, but yeah, it's a really big deal to make sure that those are going out as clean claims. Now things can happen, right? Like sometimes things will get kicked back. So another really good thing that eAssist does is they make sure that you're following up on those outstanding claims on a regular basis. So I can't tell you how many dental offices that I've gone into and I'm running that outstanding claims report and it's like massively long. And I'm asking them, when's the last time, that you looked at this? And sometimes they've never run the report to begin with. They didn't even know that it existed. Or they say, oh, I do that once a month. I print the report like at the beginning of the month and then I work through it. Cool. So best practice is to follow up on every single outstanding claim every 14 days. You got to touch everyone. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm going to ask because let's give offices like above and beyond today. What are your favorite billing reports to run? Like, what do you suggest? What's kind of the frequency you suggest? So in case an office is like, no, Tiff, I've got this. I'm going to just call you Tiff because we have a Tiff. I hope that just got real close right there. But they're just going to say, I think I can do this in my practice, which I'm all for. If you guys can do this in your practices, rock on. I just think outsourcing can free up a lot of manpower to do other things. So what's kind of the cadence of reports that you guys recommend people run? How often, like you just said, run your unsent claims report or all your claims? Like look at those, like every 14 days. But what else do you guys run? What's the cadence? What's the frequency? Just so people get an idea of how often their billing should be touched in a healthy practice.
Yeah, so you're going to want to run your production and collections and look at those numbers. I like to do that every single day. I want to look and see what has come in and like what production has been done, how much we've actually collected on. And then definitely on a weekly basis, if you have weekly team meetings, I know there's different schools of thought on that. And I don't want to get into the practice.
I'm pro weekly. You're good.
Okay, good. I love it. So I would always touch bases to review all the numbers with the team on a weekly basis. I think it's important for the team to know what the numbers are. That's how they cash their paychecks. That's how they get paid. And I think it creates incentive to help them work a little harder and kind of have some buy-in as far as that goes. Yeah. And then definitely on a monthly basis. So the average dental practice has a collection ratio of 91%. So that means they're only collecting 91% of money that is rightfully theirs to be collecting to begin with.
Let's give that like a quick like personal connection. If I decide to only pay you 91% of your paycheck, you wouldn't be super happy about that. You'd be like, what the heck? You ripped me off. Like, pay me right.
People get pissed because they have to pay taxes all the time.
Right. I'm like, so that's like rightful money for your practice. That's going to help your practice grow and evolve. And it's just because we didn't like look into it. I agree. I get it. I don't expect people to be perfect. I did just interview a girl and we give scenarios for a consultant. And we asked the question of like, what do you think is a healthy collection percentage? And she wrote back and she said 100%. And yes, it can be done. And I'm like, dang, watch out guys. If she gets hired, those offices are going to be pushing 100%. I'll give a little bit of grace. I do 98%. I don't know what your number is, Tiffany, but
98%, right? I don't expect perfect, right? But 90, we always say, and like at eAssist, we say we want to help you collect 100% of what is rightfully owed to you, always. I will say on average with eAssist, our collection ratio is 98%.
Awesome.
So.
Very cool. Okay. So we want to look at production collection every day. We want to have a weekly meeting and then a monthly meeting as well. So what reports do you run? Because for me, I was running like procedures not attached. I was running my unsent claims report every day. I was running my AR report. And I say every practice, you should hit every single patient in that AR report every single month. Like at least like touch every one of those. And I do that on purpose because if you've got 25 pages, I want you to hit every one of those so you stop sending dirty claims. I can get that AR sheet shorter.
Yeah,
But that's
exactly.
my philosophy. Billing has never been my strength.
No, I completely agree with that. 100%. I love all of those reports, especially checking to make sure that treatment that has actually been walked out is actually being sent and submitted to insurance. And it's not just sitting there and nobody even knows that it exists. So that's super, super important.
I mean, I've paid for myself on our consulting just by running a procedures not attached to insurance. I was like, so I just found you guys like $75,000 by procedures that you should have submitted anyway. And they're like, what? How is this even possible?
Cash or check or Venmo.
Exactly. So you're welcome. I'll see you in 6 months. It's perfect to see you. But okay. Yeah. So procedures not attached, claims. What else what were you going to say?
Annually, you need to be printing out all of the procedures that you have done throughout the year, as well as all of your fees that are attached. And really what you're checking for is how the codes have changed. What codes have been revised? What codes have been deleted that aren't applicable anymore? Are we still using codes that have been deleted? And is that a reason why a lot of these claims are being kicked back from insurance, right? We have to make sure that we're talking the same language. So, for example, like there's a code that, you might use in December, but then come January, that code is no longer applicable. And so now you're speaking a completely entirely different language and the insurance company doesn't know what you're saying.
Hello, Dental Team listeners. What would it take for you guys to just completely and utterly change your practice? Like truly, if you think about it, because for me, I know oftentimes it's just having somebody right by my side, pushing me along, holding me accountable, having somebody to spin ideas off of. And honestly, that's all it takes most of the time for us to go from good to great. Usually it's taking the knowledge that we learn and actually executing it. That's why I would love to invite you to join our Platinum Virtual, where we do a coaching call, a Zoom team training. We invite you to our community, and we just really dive deep with you. We're that partner right by you to help you go from good to great. So if you're wanting to join, take your practice to the next level, and you know it's time for you to implement, execute, and go to that next level, email us hello@thedentalyteam.com, and I would be so excited to welcome you as our newest Platinum Virtual member. Can't wait to see you there. Which I think is something a lot of offices overlook and they don't realize. Codes change. I mean, how many people are doing like perio maintenance, and there are now different perio codes that so many people aren't doing that could be changed. So, okay, so you recommend doing that at least once a year, making sure we're current. I'm going to ask a question. It's a total derail, but I'm just curious. A lot of people are getting so frustrated that buildups are not being paid with crowns. Do you have any tips on how to get buildups paid consistently?
Yeah, you need to make sure that you're always including a narrative for one, and listing how much tooth structure is actually remaining once the tooth is fully prepped and all the decay and everything has been removed. So a general rule of thumb with that is there needs to be more than half of the tooth structure missing in order to get that buildup paid out. Also taking intraoral photos. So yeah. I just did a webinar on this and I was talking about intraoral photos. I am a raving fan of the intraoral photo. So you want to take a photo before to show the extent of the decay. You want to take a photo after the prep, and you want to take another photo once the buildup has been completed, right? I say this all the time too. A picture is worth 1,000 words, but in dentistry, it's literally worth thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars. And the crazy thing about buildups is that most payers will deny a buildup the first time that you send it out. And the reason for that is only 33% of denied claims are ever appealed. So
no way. That's a crazy
yes,
stat. That makes my heart hurt. That's just
I know.
lazy billing.
That's what I think too.
That was direct, guys. I have no filter today, clearly.
I know. If that's you, it's okay. Just do it different. Now you know.
33%. I hope you are part of that 33%. If you aren't, like, get on the bandwagon and appeal those claims, because just because they deny it does not mean that it's denied forever. And that was something I didn't realize as a biller when I first started, that I could actually go and say, like, no, you're wrong. Luckily, I had clinical experience, and I'm like, what do you mean you're not paying for a buildup? It clearly needs a buildup. Like, we're going to resubmit this, and I'm going to tell you why it needs to be covered. Like, I don't care who the dental board people are. Like, I can prove this 100%. So, but gosh, only 33%. That's insane. Okay.
It is. Yeah, it's crazy. It's nuts. And so in insurance companies, they know this, right? So they're like, okay, I got in 100 claims for buildups. We'll just go ahead and deny them. Only 30 of them are going to come back that we're going to have to pay out on. People just kind of accept it because they either don't know how, or they don't have the effort or the time or the energy to fight for that reimbursement that is legitimately theirs. There's no, skilo stuff like going on. This is my money. Give it to me.
Right. I feel like, okay, tell me if you've got clinical experience, you worked in dental practices. I can tell. I feel like eAssist billers are like the equivalent of a hygienist. Hygienists are obsessed with getting that little speck of calculus, and we're all like, give it up. It's fine. Like, it's good enough. And yet I feel like eAssist billers are obsessive about getting, even if it's $20, like, we want to get that because that's rightfully our money. And you're not going to sit here and deny claims on us when we know, like, it used to light my fire when I would be able to appeal a claim and win. And they were like, well, okay, we'll pay it now. Like, it felt so good. It was so rewarding. So I feel like that's a healthy analogy between, like, true billers who love billing.
Yeah.
And people, I mean, I'm not the person who's like, let me go chase down every single dollar. Like, it's fine. It's $20. But I'm like, you think about those $20 or 25 or 65 or 100 times how many of those procedures, like, if you want to just feel sick, go run a report from last year of how many buildups you had, and then just do 100%. Because honestly, you probably only got like 10% of them covered. So you could drop it down to 90 or even 50% and just see how much money you lost just on that one code because we didn't go back and appeal it.
Exactly. Isn't it crazy? And the other really awesome part about eAssist is, while we have brilliant minds on our team, there is not a single one of us that's perfect, right? And when you've only got one person in your office that's doing this, it doesn't matter how awesome they are. If they're not plugged in, and like constantly learning or networking or connected, there are things that can be missed. So like within eAssist, we have an entire platform where everybody can go on and like post a question about this. And then there's literally, 1,000 people coming back to answer their question. It's that sense of community and really bringing all of the brains and all of the smarts together to really increase your bottom line and get you the money that you're owed.
Which is awesome. I think it's just a matter of, I feel like so many offices neglect billing because, like, we're going to actually go after our collections if we don't have enough money for payroll. Like, that's a given. We'll do that, or if we don't have enough money for supplies. But I just feel like it's a slow bubbling pot that doesn't have to be taken care of. Checking our claims doesn't have to be done. Resubmitting claims doesn't have to be done. Sending out collection letters doesn't have to be done. It'd be great. Like, I remember an office. This is such a gross story. It like made me so sick. Don't do this. This is not good. But I remember there was an office and I think they had 1 to 2 million in over 90. And I was like, wow, that's a lot of money in that. And I asked like how she was going about her process. And she said, oh, once they hit over 90, I actually just start like writing it off. And I said, I'm sorry, what? No. Like that's not your money to write off, number one. And number two, there's a lot of ways to collect that. Let's definitely fix that. And so again, I feel that billing in dentistry is it's not a well-taught model, in my opinion. It's just like, I learned from the person before me, and if they knew how to do it, and most of the time that's learning. And I just feel like there's so many layers to billing, which is why I really love what you guys do. I think it's actually a really brilliant thing. I will ask this question, and I'm hoping to dispel some people's beliefs about eAssist, because I've heard from some offices like, I love eAssist and I've got my own 2 cents on it. So don't worry, I'll like back you guys on it too. But they say eAssist is really inconsistent because they're not in the office all the time. So I wanted to ask a question, like, how would you answer that question? Because I've got my own 2 cents on it from the practices side, just because it's outsourced. But what would be because I've heard from some people like, well, my biller's not that great, or she doesn't know all these things, which isn't
impossible.
just eAssist, which isn't eAssist.
I'm not saying, I'm not saying it can't be like impossible. I'm sure there's like maybe a random scenario, but the systems that we have in place on the back end, the checks and the balances and the reporting, and every single one of these eAssisters have their own goals, and they've got so many that they're reporting to on a consistent and a regular basis. So I just don't see how that could happen. I just
That's awesome. That's good.
Yeah.
I wanted to dispel some rumors that I've heard. And also, I will say from the practices side, I am always saying just because it's an outsourced company, it doesn't mean you don't need to check in with them. So I recommend offices, when you do outsource, that you have a relationship. Like I treat my outsourced companies as if they're my team. And I'm going to, if Tiffany, you were my biller, I'm going to set up consistent meetings with you where we review our AR, where we look to see where we're at. We look to see our collection percentages. We look to see the statements that were sent out. We look to see why our claims are being denied so we can fix it on the front end. Like, just because they're getting denied doesn't mean keep doing it. But I really suggest, and that's something that I will preach forever, because I think outsourcing truthfully is one of the best things that can happen. Like, hello, thank you, COVID. Thank you, all these different things that have happened to us to create amazing outsourced companies. I think you guys are one of the top tier billing companies out there. But really, I feel offices can't neglect the responsibility of ensuring that the eAssister is working on their practice to the goals that you want, and that you're communicating those goals as well. Would you agree? Like, that's kind of my 2 cents on outsourcing and how offices need to take some accountability on it as well.
Absolutely. It's all about having consistent and clear communication. And if you feel like you can't pick up the phone and call your eAssister to ask them a question, then you need to let them know, or let your team leader know, so that they can get you a different eAssister, right? Communication is incredibly important. And making sure that you're providing great SOAP notes for documentation purposes, that you're taking the right x-rays, that you're taking those intraoral photos, that you're charting the bleeding on probing, that all of these things are happening, because that's what your eAssister needs to be set up for success, to get all of the other stuff on the back end taken care of. And if you're not involved as a practice owner or as a doctor, that's a big deal. And I know that you're busy and you've got a lot of stuff on your plate and there's a lot going on, and that's okay. But you need to be involved in the process. Otherwise, you may not always be happy or get the result that you could have.
For sure. And that's why I wanted to bring this up. Like, I'd rather dispel what people think. But I think also, as you said, that one of the benefits of having an outsourced company is they force you to have tight systems. So things like, we aren't charting our bleeding, I need this information. So coming from somebody who knows what a practice should look like, I think that's actually one of the best things. I remember when I started outsourcing our podcast, it's now in-house, but we went with somebody who was working for another company. And I remember it was like, I instantly created a very quick system, because this person knew what we should be having, how it should be done, what the process should be. And we had just hodgepodged it together prior to that. Like, it was fine, it was working, but it wasn't succinct and tight. And when you said, like, are your hygienists documenting their perio charting, and are they doing it consistently? So many offices I walk into, they're not doing it consistently. I'm like, guys, we need that to get our claims to be paid. They're not taking intraorals, like you were saying, for those buildups, and then they're complaining that it's not being denied, and they're like, well, I guess all buildups are just denied. No. That's why I love eAssist. Yeah. That's why I love working with companies who bill for hundreds and thousands of practices, because you see so many more claims than I see. You know tips and tricks. You've got your whole community of people. So that's where I just feel like, if nothing else, I also think it's a great way to ramp up your systemization and get cleaner documentation, cleaner notes, cleaner insurance verification, cleaner billing. So that way it really is a better process all around. So
Oh, for sure. 100%. I mean, I'm all for outsourcing. eAssist obviously is about outsourcing, but they also believe in the power of education. And, you've got to make the choices that are best for your practice. And if you've got the team in place and you feel like they can handle it, but they just need to learn or have some education to support them, eAssist also has Dental Zing, which is an entire online webinar continuing education platform. They're not out there saying, you must outsource to us, like in order to be successful. It's saying, make the choice that's right for your practice. If you want to outsource, we're here for you. If you want to coach and train your team, like we're here for you. Here's some courses, like let them take these. So it's, that's great.
Which I think is awesome. So guys, end all be all, stop doing it the hard way. There's a book called, what is it? It's not how, but who. And I really love thinking that, because I think so often in practice, we're like, well, how are we going to figure out our billing? How are we going to figure this out? When sometimes those can actually just be answered by who. Is there a billing company like eAssist that you could outsource to and try it? Tiffany, if an office wants to set up with you guys, how long does it usually take from like, I call you, say I need help with billing, to you guys actually submitting my claims? Like, how long is that process if I'm a practice in dire need, just so I have a timeline?
That's actually a great question. It's been a while since I've been on that side of things. But I know in the past, it's been usually 7 days. I think the goal is to cut that back. I'm not actually sure, but it used to be 7 days. But that's also really dependent on you getting them all of the information that they need in order to get things set up. So there's, tech installation and all of that, but the turnaround can actually be exponentially quicker than that. It all just kind of depends on systems.
That's awesome. So again, very quick turnaround time. I know that doesn't seem like fast, but it is quick. You guys start billing immediately, start telling them, helping them get their systems in play. I know there's check scanners. So it becomes you guys have it really dialed in. So Tiffany, I love this conversation. I love that we went from how to get buildups paid. We went from what it even looks like to outsource. We've talked about different types of reports you should be doing, looking at your claims every 14 days, that only 33% of people appeal denials, like crazy stuff. So guys, if you are looking and you're saying, hey, I'm ready to get going and I need help, Tiffany, how do they get set up with eAssist? Like, what's the best way to connect with you guys? Just to find out more information, see if you're a practice that can qualify. What's the best way?
Yeah, absolutely. So first thing is first, always go to our website, dentalbilling.com. There's a lot of your questions that you have are going to be answered just by looking at the website, including pricing and what all of that looks like, the variety of services that are offered and which you feel like is the best for your specific practice. And then you can always send out an email to learn more at eassist.me.
Awesome. Well, Tiffany, I am so excited. Guys, if this is even something you've been considering, I'd strongly encourage you guys to look into it, touch base, see, because at the end of the day, let's cut the stress off your front office, outsource it, make sure your billing's coming in consistently. I know I always love when my paychecks are consistent and that money into our company is consistent. It's very stressful when it's not, and not having it depend on people's time or availability or hiring is a really awesome solution. So Tiffany, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being a part of eAssist. Super grateful for you and all that you guys do for the dental community.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Of course. All right, guys, check it out. Try it out. Let us know if we can help you in any way. Email me hello@thedentalateam.com. And as always, thanks for listening. I'll catch you next time on the Dental A Team podcast. And that wraps it up for another episode of the Dental A Team podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.